So when we're discussing about the motor, first we're discussing about the construction details, working principle, speed control, uh, braking systems, and power efficiency, power losses. So these are the topics we are discussing in the AC motor, especially in the motors. And last, we are discussing about the applications of that various motors. So first we start from that alternator. Alternator is a machine which converts electrical energy, mechanical energy is converted to the electrical energy in the form of AC. That we call as an alternator. So alternator, we have a broad classifications based on the applications, based on the type of rotors. Here we are discussing about the based on the rotors. We have two types. One is a silent pole rotor and cylindrical type rotors. So construction of alternator. So we needed two things. One is the rotor, another is the stator. So before going to the construction, just we are discussing. We know about that working principle. So as per Faraday's law, what is an alternator or generator is working under principle of Faraday's law. So Faraday's law needs two things as we discussed in the last class. One is the conductor, another is the magnetic field. If it is alternator, we need a mechanical energy to rotate the conductor. So here, conductor and magnetic field, we need two things. So now we come to the construction. So we need a conductor as well as magnetic field. Magnetic field produced through the field winding, and conductor we call as the armature winding. Let's see. So the circular we call as a stator. In the stator we have windings are there. Here windings, and inner portions we call as a rotor. So in the rotor we wound the windings. So here this system, this field winding, we wind the coil and we give a constant DC supply, which means it produces a constant magnetic field. Number one. So this item, that is this rotor, we have a field winding, otherwise we call it field winding. This field winding we connected with a DC supply to produce the constant magnetic field. This rotor is classified into two different types. One is a silent pole rotor and cylindrical type rotor. So silent means if we have projections, that we call as a silent pole, and cylindrical pole rotor, otherwise we call as a non-silent pole rotors. So definitely they have some questions from this type of rotors. So silent pole rotor, just I said, we have a projection. The rotor having a projection, that's why we use the word silent pole rotor. This rotor, we have a field winding. This field winding connected with a DC supply to produce a magnetic field. So magnetic field, that means we have a north pole and south pole. Here, the difference between DC generator and alternator, in the DC generator, the field winding are connected in the stator yoke, and it produces a constant magnetic field like this. Already said, and it's a conductor, and this conductor cuts the magnetic field. I'll be discussing that DC generator. Here, the magnetic field is in the rotor, this magnetic field is rotating. So once again I say that the magnitude of the magnetic field having a constant magnet is a constant one, that is the flux is constant one, but the field the magnetic field is rotated. Here the magnetic field is rotated and we have a conductor, this conductor touches the magnetic field. So in general we have a projection. So if you have a projection, just see this. Here is a cylindrical one. Here is a cylindrical one. Here have a projections. So it had the cylindrical one having a high speed, and this silent pole which is used for a low speed, because this construction is not allowed to for the high speed. So definitely they ask the question, silent pole motor which is used for the low speed machines. So sometimes they ask in the question paper, so silent pole motor which is used for the low speed alternators. And similarly, this silent pole rotors which is used for hydro stations and diesel power stations. Next we go to that cylindrical rotor. Cylindrical rotor, there is no projection, so that's why we call as a non-silent pole. We may call as non-silent pole. This is in that round shape, that's why we call as round rotor. And it is used whenever we need it more than 1500 to 3000 RPM. We are using the cylindrical rotor. In general, the cylindrical rotor is used in the thermal power plant. So here are some comparisons between that silent pole rotor and smooth cylindrical rotor. So just to see that. So silent pole, we have some projection, so there is no, the air gap is not uniform. Here the cylindrical having a uniform air gap. So just read the slides. So we have some questions, especially in the point number 7. Point number 5 and 7, they ask in the questions because low speed and high speed. Here the working principle, as we discussed in the DC generator, the same working principle. The DC generator as well as alternator are working under the Faraday's first law, working principle of the Faraday's first law. The only thing is in the DC generator, the field winding is stationary, the conductor is rotating, because the output of that DC generator is approximately 220 voltage or 440 voltage. So to maintain the insulation we needed less insulations. So that's why the output of the conductor is a rotating part. In alternator, the output is a AC voltage. It is at the maximum of 11 kV. In recent days, we have a 33 kV alternators are there. So if the 11 kV, if you get the output from the rotor from 11 kV, it needs a high insulation. So that's why for alternator, the field winding is in the rotor and the conductor is in the stationary part. Rest of the things are the same working principle. So here the output of that alternator is a sinusoidal waveform. So I have here 4 different parts are there at 0 degree, at 90 degree, 180 degree, 270 degree, and we have 5 points are there. So the output of the alternator at 0 degree, the output voltage is 0. At 90 degree, the output of the alternator is have a maximum value. That is, if in the x-axis we have a time, in the y-axis we have the voltage. Voltage is directly proportional to the flux linkages. So flux. the conductor cuts the maximum flux is produced the maximum voltage. Just see that diagram. So here it produces a zero voltage, here maximum, here it is a minimum zero, or we call it 0, and here we have a maximum. Maximum occurs field winding and conductor are in parallel. So at that time, all the conductors cut the entire magnetic field. So already we discussed in that DC generator. Imagine that it's a rectangular conductor. If I place the conductor like this, it is parallel with the conductor. So it is cut the magnetic field. So it's produced only 0 degree. If you rotate like this, it's cutted all the 4 fingers. That is all the magnetic lines. So that's why it's produced a maximum flux. So that is, if the conductor parallel with this magnetic field is produced the minimum value. If it's a perpendicular with that magnetic field, is produce a high voltage. So EMF equation of the alternator. Here flux, we have 2 pole alternator or 4 pole, depends upon the requirement we decided. So each pole produces the 5 fluxes. So number of poles. So if multiply number of poles and the flux, we get the P pi, which is the total flux in the. If we multiply the two things, we get the P pi. That means total flux in the alternator. So synchronous speed, frequencies, F is the frequency, is the total number of conductors, TP number of turns per phases, like this. Just according from that Faraday's law of electromagnetic field, the average value of EMF induced per conductor in one revolution, which is equal to E, which is equal to d by dt, because rate of change of flux linkages. This is equation derived from the Faraday's second law. First law, how you produce the magnetic EMF. Second law, how much we produce the EMF. That's the difference between the first law and second law. First law, working principle. Second law, how much you produce it. So EMF equation of the alternator. So average EMF, which is equal to change of flux in one revolution divided by time taken for one revolution. So change of flux linkages. So from this waveform, so we have here minimum value, here maximum value. So maximum value is P pi, minimum value is 0. So difference between this P pi and 0 gives the change of flux linkages. Thus we have a P pi. So that's why we write here change of flux in one revolution, which is equal to P into pi, number of poles into flux. Time taken for one revolution 60 divided by n pi, because n is equal to RPM, revolution per minute. 1 minute is gives at n numbers. In seconds, we have a 60 divided by ns. So now we substitute these two equations in the, say this is a first equation, here is a second equation, here is a third equation. Substitute 2 and 3 in 1, give the, just a minute. So from Faraday's law, we have the first equation, generated EMF E, which is equal to d by dt. So d pi, which is equal to number of poles into flux, and dt time taken for one revolution, which is equal to 60 by ns. Ns is we call as a synchronous speed. So in general, we are using the term n because let we discuss. We have synchronous motors and induction motor. We are using the two different terms are the one is ns synchronous speed and we use a n suffix or sometimes we use a capital N alone. So that's why we more specifically write that ns synchronous speed. So substitute these equations, we get that E average which is equal to 2 pi f. So as I said that here we have a conductor, we have two parts of that. We forget about this because this is a conductor, this one n, we have 2n. So that's why we multiply into 2. So 2 into 2 pi, we have 4 pi f. So this is the equation as we discussed in the transformer. This EMF equation alternator is combination of the EMF equation of the generator as well and EMF equation of the transformer. So it is an average value. We convert the average value into RMS value because in the AC system we are using always RMS quantity. We have three different terms are there that we discussed in that second session. One is the maximum value, we call it a VM. Capital V, we call it a RMS value. And small v, we call it instantaneous value. And capital V suffix AV, we call it average value. So in general, in AC system, we are using that RMS quantity. We say 440 voltage, 230 voltage, 11 kV, 66 kV, all the things are referred that RMS quantity. So the average value is converted to that RMS value by using that form factor 1.1. So ERMS which is equal to 1.11 into this value. So we have the ERMS which is equal to 4.44 F pi TP voltage. This term TP, if you write the term TP, it's the EMF equation for the alternator. If you write the N, this is the equation for the transformer. So that's why I write in that. For transformer, we use N instead of TP. TP turns per phase. So once again, so it's a rectangular conductor. It's a rectangular shape. But in general, the conductor is not in the rectangular shape because if we find that we have some curved portions of that. So that's why it's not an entire rectangle. But for example, say if it is having a 10 centimeter, if you round the coil, it's not exactly 10 centimeter, it's less than the 10 centimeter. It's maybe 0.9, 0.95. So that's why we are using that one factor that we call as a winding factor. So winding factor Kw. This Kw have two terms are there. One is a pitch factor and distribution factor. They didn't much ask about the questions in that question. They didn't ask any more questions in this area. Just remember the term. Winding factor, pitch factor, distribution factor. Just we multiply. So because 4.44 F pi Tp into 1. If we have a straight line. If we have a curve, the 1 is replaced with 0.9. So we say the 1, we are using the term Kw. That is winding factor Kw. So multiply. Sorry, just a minute. So this Kw, sorry, Kc and Kw, which is equal to Kw. So later I have some question papers. So how to calculate? I have some sample 2 or 3 questions about the pitch factor and distribute factors. So definitely these type of questions definitely asked in the exam. The frequency of the voltage generated by an alternator having 8 poles and rotating at 250 RPM is. So they ask the frequency. So we have a formula Ns is equal to 120 F by P. 120 F by P. This is the general formula. Here they ask the frequency. So see the question. We have 8 poles. So substitute here 8 and rotating at 250 RPM. So speed is 250. So from this we calculate the frequency. F is equal to 16.66 Hertz. So apart from this, so maybe the frequency here they say that rotating speed is 250 RPM. So definitely this alternator is here. This alternator having a cylindrical rotor or silent pole rotor. The speed is 250 RPM. So just maybe having option A. So this alternator having a cylindrical rotor, silent pole rotor, anyone, none of this maybe. So here we read that 250 RPM. So this alternator definitely is a silent pole alternator. And this alternator may be used in the hydro generation plant or diesel power plant, because already we discussed in the second or third slide the silent pole rotor which is used for the hydro station or diesel generating stations. So by this way we correlate the questions. How they ask the questions. So another important question.
Sir, excuse
Yes.
me. Can you just show us how you get into that answer? 16 into 2 by 3.
Yes. Yes. By using this formula, I write that 120 into F divided by P. So we need F. F is equal to 250 divided into 250 into 8 divided by
8 by 120.
Yes. 250 into 8 divided by 120. I hope. Yes, I will check that answer also. If you have a calculator, just already inform, use that system calculator, because in the exam they didn't allow calculator.
Okay. So is it equivalent to 16 into 2 by 3 or?
16.2 by 3 Hertz. But in general, the frequency is not in the decimal number. It is it's maybe it's a whole number. Suppose suppose they give the 17, you choose the 17, because frequency is not in that decimal number. It is a whole number. Okay.
Got it now. Okay, fine.
Hello?
Fine. Okay. Because they're okay. Okay, the format is different. Okay, fine.
Yes. So if you use the calculator, we get 16.67. Suppose in the option they provided instead of 16.67,
okay.
they may give 17.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Basically 50 by 3. Yeah.
Yes. Then second question. The alternator is a generating power at 210 voltage. per phase while running at 1500 RPM. So alternator at 1500 RPM is, so due to some reason, the alternator speed is reduced to 1000 RPM. What is the voltage? So voltage at induced voltage 210 volt at speed 1500 RPM. V2, which is just by using this formula, N2 which is equal to, sorry, it's not a N2, it is a V2. It's not N2, it is a V2. V2 which is equal to N2 by N1 into V1, use 140 voltage. Are you clear? Hello?
Yes, yes. Clear, clear.
So armature reactions. So alternator, we have a stator, rotor. Stator produces one flexes. So we use that DC supply to that field winding. So it's produced on magnetic field. And at the same time, the field winding we coupled with a turbine. So some other mode. So that is rotating. So mechanical is converted to the electrical just fine. So the field winding, we use a DC supply, it produces a constant magnetic field. Now the field winding is rotated, which cuts the stator winding. Now the stator winding produces the one magnetic field. So now we have two magnetic fields are there. One is from field winding, that is from the rotor. Another one from the stator. The intersection between the two winding, which produce some, is make some disadvantages. That things we call as armature reactions. So interaction between the two flexes we call as the armature winding. So armature reaction. These armature reactions make two different effects are there. One is the cross magnetic effect, another is the demagnetic effect. So we have two flexes are there. So effect of the armature flex and rotor field flux. So armature flex means conductor, rotor field flex means field winding. So interaction between the two windings, two flexes, that's one action is created that we call as the armature reaction. That reactions disturb the induced EMF. So that we have two effects are there. One is a cross magnetic effect, another is a demagnetic effect. So this effect, because in the DC generator, we didn't bother about that power factor. Here, we are producing AC generator, we are AC supply, so we have some parameters, power factor. So this armature reactions, the cross magnetic effect, demagnetic effect depends upon the power factors. So unity power factor, zero power factor, lagging, zero power factor, leading. So simply we have the unity power factor, lagging power factor, leading power factor. And another important question from here, this question. So this question is asked in my exam. So power factor is the definition of that. This power factor is the angle between the voltage and current. So see the slides. Whenever I highlight some words, they may ask the question. So armature reaction, unity power factor. So unity power factor means armature current and induced EMF are in phase. So in phase means there is no angle between, the power factor is zero. Sorry, the angle between the phase angle is 0, so power factor is 1. So at that condition, the cross magnetic effect is occurred. So unity, simply we remember unity power factor means cross magnetic effect. So armature reaction at power factor, lagging power factor. So in the lagging power factor, the action is demagnetic effect, number 1. So now we are discussing about the alternator. The alternator, the working principle alternator is similar to that synchronous motor. So this alternator already we call as a synchronous alternator. So the construction of the synchronous alternator, which is similar to the synchronous motor. So that's why here I mentioned that if the synchronous machine is operated as a generator mode, the synchronous machine operates in the motoring mode. So lagging power factor, generally the armature reactions is a demagnetic, major role is a demagnetic effect in synchronous machine generating mode supplies a lagging power factor current. So it's a generator, so it supplies the current, and this current makes the armature reaction. Here I mentioned the demagnetic effect, demagnetic. Here I mentioned both demagnetic and cross magnetic, but demagnetic is a more predominant actions in that lagging power factor. So similarly for leading, for the leading power factor, it is a magnetic effect, but that is increase the magnetic field. So this, just remember this word. I hope just remember in your college, in the leading power factor, the always the voltage regulation is positive valve. Let me discuss in the next slides. So voltage regulation is the output of the voltage. The always in the leading power factor, the output voltage is greater than the supply voltage. So due to this magnetic effect is maybe clear in the next slides. So determines the voltage regulations. Voltage regulation is nodal voltage minus full load voltage divided by the terminal voltage or full load voltage. So E minus V divided by V. The same equation we derived in the transformer also. So whenever we need that output is the electrical energy, we are using that voltage regulations. If it is a motor, we are using that speed regulations. Speed regulation, no load speed minus full load speed. Here output is a voltage, so we have a voltage regulation E naught minus V divided by V. So as for a smaller machine, we apply the direct method. We give the connected that direct load. For alternator, we connected electrical load. By changing that electrical load, we get a different output voltage. If we using that large machine, the terminal voltage is from the nameplate detail, we get the terminal voltage. But E naught, we get that from the terminal voltage E. So because it depends upon the power factor. So that's why we go for the indirect methods. For indirect method, we have 3 different indirect methods are there, 4 methods: EMF method, MMF method, Portier triangle method, or we call it a zero power factor method. In college, we say that ZPF method. method. And fourth one, ASA, American Standard method. Is in general, we didn't use that ASA method. We are using the EMF method, MF method, and ZPF method. So definitely this side, they may ask that any question. They may ask the question. So EMF method we call as a pessimist method. That is, EMF method we call as a pessimist method, and MF method we call as a optics method. I wrongly typed. Here is not a pessimist. Here is optimist. So EMF method is a pessimist method. MF method is an optimist method, and zero power factor method is the exact correct one. Here see. Here see, we have that load current. Here voltage. So load current is directly proportional to the load. So if load increases, the terminal voltage, we have the cap. Here we have a dotted line. So below the dotted line, we have a unity power factor and lagging power factor. And above the dotted line, we have the leading power factor. The dotted line, which is equal to E0, E0. The terminal voltage is always less than the E0 during that unity power factor and lagging power factor, because both the unity power factor and lagging power factor in the armature reactions, demagnetic cross magnetic effects is occur in that unity method, and demagnetic effect occur in that lagging power factor. But in the leading power factor, it is a magnetic effect. So due to magnetic effect, is increased because the generated EMF, which is directly proportional to the speed as well as the flux. So leading power factor method, the flux is increased. So that way the induced EMF also increase. So from this curve, we understand that the terminal voltage V, the terminal voltage V, which is greater than the E0. So that's why for the lagging power factor, method, always the voltage regulation is positive. For unity power factor and lagging power factor, the voltage regulation is always less, negative value. So definitely just for example, say here no voltage is 400. In general, terminal voltage less than the 400 voltage, say 390 divided by 390, which gives 10 by 90, gives the positive value. Is a positive value. So the 390 is less than the 400 voltage, so which means it's a unity power factor and lagging power factor. So unity power factor, lagging power factor. So 10 by 390 is we have a positive value. We have a positive value. If you go for the leading power factor, this 390 is increased. The 400 is increased by 10 voltage, say 10 voltage. So divided by 410, which gives minus 10 divided by 410, which gives the negative value. So from this slide 21, 22, 23, 21, 22, they may ask that 3 to 4 questions from these slides. And definitely it's too important to understand the things. So definitely they ask some questions here. And parallel operations of the alternator. So whenever, so instead of construct a high capacity alternator, they construct a, suppose our objective is to produce a 500 megawatt. Our objective is to produce a 500 megawatt. So instead of construct a 500 megawatt alternator, they construct a 250 megawatt and 250 megawatt. 2 into 250 megawatt. Because so simple understanding, in the daytime, our requirement is 250 megawatt. In the night time, that is in the peak hours, if we needed 500 megawatt. So instead of if we have a 500 megawatt, the entire 24 hours, the 500 megawatts running. So instead of to avoid to avoid that conditions, we have a 2 into 250 megawatt. For the peak hours, we run that both the alternators. For the half peak, we are run that only 1 megawatt, one alternator. So for that purpose, we are studying that alternator, parallel operation of the alternators. So the parallel operations, we have 3 conditions are there. One is we need to maintain the phase sequence, line voltage, phase angle, frequency. These 4 important to maintain the parallel operations. Phase sequence, line voltage, phase angle, and frequencies. Here, so running machine, here we have incoming machine. Running machine is, in the running machines, so entire 24 hours, the generator 1 is running. So incoming machine is, we utilize the generator 2 for only 12 hours. So that's why we are introducing one switches. So whenever we require, we switch on the switches, 3 switches. So the generator 2 is connected with the generator 1. So the parallel operations happen. So we need to satisfy the 4 conditions. One is the phase voltage is equal, phase sequence equal, phase angle equal. If the phase angle equal, if phase angle is equal, default the phase angle also is equal, and the frequency. So two important things are is voltage and the phase angle. Voltage, by using the voltmeter, we check the voltage. For that phase sequence, we are using the synchronous method, synchronoscope method. So these are the advantages of the parallel operations. So in general, they did much. Ask them more questions from here. But the condition is the 4 conditions, they may ask the questions. So these are a few applications of the alternators. So construction of the alternator and synchronous motor are similar. In the synchronous alternator, the mechanical is converted to that electrical energy. In the synchronous motor, electrical energy is converted to that mechanical energy. The working principle, the concept is same. The working principle little bit we change the thing that we discuss. Here the same thing. Here in the field winding, we apply that DC supply. First step, apply DC voltage in the field winding. So that means we create the field system, magnetic flux. That is magnetic field. Third step, we do the three-phase supply to the stator. So here we do the three-phase alternating supply, three-phase AC supply. So three-phase AC supply produces a three-phase rotating magnetic field. So third step. So we do the three-phase supply. Physically, the stator is not rotate. Physically, the stator is not rotate. But in the field, the winding having that, we give the AC supply. So is produced the rotating magnetic field. So that's why we create the rotating magnetic field. Now see the second and the fourth point. Second point, we have a constant magnetic field, and the fourth point, we have a rotating magnetic field. So rotating magnetic field and the constant magnetic field interact each other, and the second one is the rotor. So it tends to rotate. So that's why we create the mechanical energy. So that's why we have a mechanical energy. So the speed of the mechanical energy depends upon the speed of the rotating magnetic field. Here the rotating magnetic field is a synchronous speed. So ns speed. Ns is equal to 120 F by P. So synchronous motor, we have a stator, we have a rotor. Here we have a, so say imagine that it's a stator, so we have a rotating magnetic field. Now I place the field here. I place the magnetic field, the field winding in the system. So this field winding having a north pole and south pole, because here we use a constant DC supply, so that's why it produces a constant magnetic field, and that not initially does not rotate. So imagine once again, it's a motor. Initially, this field winding, the rotor does not rotate. So that's why it is the north pole, it's a south pole, and I put a rotating magnetic field. So initially it's a initially it have a north pole. Suppose imagine that it's a two-pole motor, two-pole stator. So here the north pole, here the south pole. So now we have the field winding. The top is the north pole. The top of the field winding is also north pole. So bottom of that field winding is the south pole. The stator also the south pole, which means the north pole repel, and it tends to rotate. It tends to rotate. Now here bottom is a south pole. The part, because the bottom is also south pole. Here the field winding, the bottom is a north pole. So south pole is attract. If it attract, we have a magnetic locking is created. So magnetic lock create. Now the magnetic field, the rotating magnetic fields rotate. That means this field winding also rotate the direction of that magnetic field. Stator magnetic field. So by this way, the synchronous motor running in the synchronous speed. So simple, just I draw here. So imagine that. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Go
So
on.
we have a, here North Pole, here North Pole, here South Pole, here South Pole at one instant. At particular instant, because we use the rotate AC supply in the stator, so this magnetic field is rotated. This magnetic field rotating, but at instant or particular instant, here North Pole, here we have a North Pole, here we have a South Pole, here we have a South Pole. So this opposite pole, so repel each other. So that's why this road tilted to here North Pole, here South Pole. So all happen at the particular instant. Now is North Pole, South Pole is attack each other. Now we go to the second moment. This is the first moment. We have a second moment. Now the second moment, this North Pole is tilt to here, the South Pole tilt to here. At that time, this rotor also tilted because already the South Pole and the North Pole of the field winding all attracted, already is attracted in that at the moment 1. So that's why whenever the magnetic field in the stator is rotated, the rotor also rotated in the same speed. So that's why the rotor speed of the synchronous motor, which is equal to the synchronous speed of the stator. So from this we say that speed of the synchronous motor is Ns, which is equal to 120 F by P, is applicable for both stator and rotor. So here we mentioned that the synchronous motor is not self-starting because at the instant it does not rotate. It takes some alignment